Welcome everybody, 2026 Pool School. I'm going to get started right away and turn it over to Rupert. Rupert works for Haviland. He'll probably tell you a little bit more about himself. He's been in the industry for a very long time. He worked for our company years ago and decided that being a rep for Haviland was a better fit for him. And he's just been a tremendous resource to us through the industry. So Rick is going to touch today on basic water balancing, and he's going to highlight one of our absolute favorite products, which is Supreme Plus. So if you're not on Supreme Plus, you're going to learn a lot about this great product and how it can make your life a lot easier. So I'm going to turn it over to Rick.
Okay.
30 minutes and the air horn.
Okay. Thank you everyone for coming out. So we're just going to touch on some basic water chemistry things, one particular product. So water chemistry, your water balance. These 5 things actually are taken into account to maintain and keep your water balanced. And in the order of importance of how much they affect the water balance, pH is number 1. When you leave here, that's one thing you understand. If you can control that, you eliminate 100% of the problems you'll ever have in your swimming pool or hot tub. Second is water temperature. Third is calcium hardness. Fourth is total alkalinity. And then total dissolved solids. Okay? So pH is actually the power or potency of hydrogen. It basically is measuring the acidity of the water or the basicness of the water. So basically the pH scale goes from 0 to 14, with 7 being neutral. Some things with pH factors. Us coffee drinkers, coffee has a very low pH. It's very, very acidic. Your eyes, pretty much neutral. Toothpaste has a high pH. So anytime you start to get over 7, the water becomes basic. If it gets under 7, it becomes acidic. So the scale is measured logarithmically. I always mess that word up. The difference between 6 and 7 is 10 times, not 1. So a pH factor of 6 is 10 times more acidic than 7. A pH factor of 5 is actually 100 times more acidic than 7. And we go upward, 8 is 10 times more basic than 7, and 9 is 100 times more basic than 7. How many people have a salt generator on their swimming pool here? Okay, I'll touch on why the pH is always high with those. I love them. I installed my first one in 1994. They're great. So the ideal pH for pool is 7.2 to 7.6. I'll give you time to write that down. Everything that goes into your water affects your pH. Your source water, rainwater, the type of chlorine you're using will affect your pH. A salt system will affect your pH. Your pH can change daily. It can even change hourly. A large group of people swimming in a pool creating turbulence in air, their pH is rising in that body of water. So alkalinity is actually going to help buffer the pH. So again, pool chemicals, acid rain can drop pH. Aeration, swimmer waste can actually raise the pH. Ideal alkalinity is 80 to 120 ppm. Here's the deal. Anytime you adjust your pH upward or downward, you're also going to raise the alkalinity upward or downward. If you adjust your alkalinity downward or upward, you're also going to affect the pH. They go hand in hand. If anybody here is a parent, the alkalinity is like the parent keeping an eye on the kid, and the kid would be the pH. So basically, it's a carbonate solution. This is a little bit technical. We don't need to know all the So this product here, Supreme Plus, is sodium tetraborate. It was developed by a gentleman named Don Gervin back in the 80s. His very first customer was Disney World. It has an EPA patent, and it's registered to be used in recreational water. So it actually works together with alkalinity to buffer pH from rising or lowering. Also, alkalinity from raising or lowering. It's a once-a-season product. Once it goes in, the only thing that lowers its level is dilution, so fresh water, okay? There's pictures worth 1,000 words, and I got a couple pictures of pools that use this. So basically, it's an algistat. It actually will keep algae from forming and growing in the pool. All water has algae molecules in it, even our bottled water. So all water has algae in it. It stars the water of carbon dioxide. Without carbon dioxide, algae can't grow, okay? It softens the water, and it actually has corrosion inhibitors built into it. So this pool here is a pool spa combo. This is actually a family member of mine. Everybody talks about pH. Some of the questions were asked before you guys came. So this pool and spa, once the pH and alkalinity are set in range, 7.2 to 7.6, 80 to 120, the Supreme Plus is added. This pool here does not make another adjustment on pH or alkalinity all summer long. It stays there. Okay?
Can I ask where is it at? Where's the pool located at?
The Forest.
Oh,
It's actually my brother's. He won't let me in it. So basically, that's what this product does. And again, if you can control the pH, pH affects your water chemistry the most. It causes the most problems. Scale buildup. The main cause of that is pH. Second is water temperature. So it locks into pH and alkalinity. It's a friend of mine, Paul. Go ahead.
So before you use that product, you need to have your pH and your alkalinity in
Correct.
a normal range.
Yes, correct.
So that doesn't adjust that for you. It
No.
just helps maintain it.
Exactly. So the product is pH neutral. So when you add it, it is not going to raise your pH or alkalinity. We have an original formula called Supreme. That product does. But this one actually is blended, so it actually is pH neutral. So you would have your pH in range and have your alkalinity in range. If you added it with the pH and alkalinity out of range, either too high or too low, it buffers so well, you'll never get it adjusted. Okay? This is a friend's pool, you know.
Did he use it for a pool and the hot tub?
Yep.
He uses it for both. You can use it for
Yep.
either hot tub.
Yeah. So he has a pool spa combo. So the water in the pool and the water in the spa are actually the same chemistry. Okay. Now, if you had only a hot tub, we have that same product in a smaller container that could be used for a portable hot tub. Okay. The key with it is the buffering of the pH and alkalinity. I am not lying. Last year, pH was 7.6, alkalinity was 140. We put this in. He did not have to adjust his pH or alkalinity. And he texts me his readings every week, and I run an LSI calculation on it. That water stays balanced all year. And the water has never gone cloudy. It has never gotten algae, and it averages 60 to 70 people a week in the pool. My friend in Missouri, I like this because it looks like there's absolutely no water in the pool. Same situation. In 5 years, he's never had algae. He does not adjust his pH or alkalinity once the product goes in. Yes?
Keep making a comment about temperature. What's the best temperature to keep water?
Whatever you want it.
So
So water temperature does affect your balance, okay? If you have a heater on your swimming pool, you have total control over your water temperature, okay? If we're blessed with a beautiful hot summer, I predict we're not gonna have under a 90-degree day from Memorial Weekend to mid-September, so be prepared for that. So you know, the water temperature you have no control over. So as water gets warmer or colder, you can adjust your other things, pH or alkalinity, to compensate for that. And I have some slides that really dictate that. Okay, again, it looks like, it just eliminates so many problems. Okay, and a picture is worth 1,000 words. So calcium hardness, pool water and spa water needs to be hard. So you need a minimum of 150 parts per million of calcium to have balanced water. Under 150 parts per million, water wants to balance itself. It'll actually seek whatever it needs from wherever it can get it. Very low calcium, under 150, will start to affect your vinyl liner, your fiberglass shell, plaster pool, your equipment, okay? The ideal range, calcium hardness, too low, pitting action equipment, too highs, hazer scale. Ideal, 200 to 400, okay? This is something where if you have extremely soft water that you're putting into your hot tub or your pool, there's a product you can use to raise it. Fortunately, in this area, it does come out of the tap at a very good level to begin with, okay? With my brother's, it's 250 parts per million. It comes out of the tap that way. He's on well water, okay? So one thing I always recommend is bring your source water into Patio Pleasures, a source water, because you're gonna know exactly what's gonna happen when you put the hose in to add water to your pool or your hot tub. So again, I just like to have the source water and know what it is. So basically, total dissolved solids is measuring everything that is dissolved and staying in solution within that pool. They're really not that big of an issue, okay? Indoor swimming pools, it does become a big issue because they're not having an influx of fresh water. And a lot of it evaporates back down into the pool. This is something that you can test once a year, okay? Pool needs to have some fresh water in it, okay? A lot of people with auto covers, they don't like to open the cover unless they're using the pool. Sometimes open the cover, some fresh water, the pool breathing, it's a good thing. Total dissolved solids, if the pool is a non-salt system, 1,500 or less. If the pool is using a salt chlorine generator, 5,000 parts per million or less. Okay, this is not something you're not gonna test for. Okay, so I mentioned the LSI, which is the Langelier Saturation Index. This is how I balance water. Anytime any of my customers call me, the very first thing I ask is, I want the pH, the alkalinity, calcium, and the water temperature. And they're like, they're good. I said, that's not what I asked you. I want to know exactly what they are. By nature, water is always going to want to balance itself to get back to neutral. So within the LSI factor, 0.3 negative to 0.3 positive, you have balanced water. No matter what, as long as you have all those 5 readings, if you come up within that factor, you have balanced water. So here's an example. The first pool, pH is 7.5, water temperature is 75. Calcium hardness is 250, alkalinity is 120, TDS is 1500, the LSI is 0.0. That is a perfectly balanced swimming pool. Go to the next one. The only things that change are the pH and the water temperature. Calcium, alkalinity, TDS all remain the same. You went to 0.9 negative, you're going to start to damage anything that water touches. Go to the far end. The pH goes up to 8.3, the temperature goes up to 85, calcium, alkalinity, TDS remain the same. Your LSI is 0.9 positive. You will start to form scale on your equipment, and you will start to form scale on the swimming pool. The key is that pH. The bottom one is I did it for salt system. So if this pool here was actually a salt system, it'd be 0.3 negative, still balanced, but that temperature is going to come up, which will take it up to 0.1 negative. The water's still balanced. On your low pH and low temperature, you go negative. I've actually seen this situation damage a pool liner over the winter where it wrinkled it completely. And on the third one, it's still over positive. The key is the pH. If you can control that pH and keep it 7.2 to 7.6, no matter what else happens with your temperature and the other readings, very good chance you're going to remain absolutely balanced. And that product does it. I don't know what 5 seconds of wisdom is. So how's my time?
You got 14 minutes left.
Oh man, I'm way ahead of schedule. Okay, so sanitation is what is killing bacteria within your swimming pool. That would be a chlorine tablet, your salt generator. It's producing the chlorine to sanitize and disinfect the water. Oxidation is something that needs to be done. Okay, everybody thinks shocking the swimming pool, you do it once a year. My brother's pool and my friend's pool, they oxidize once a week. And because they're both salt systems, they use a non-chlorine shock because their generator is producing the sanitizing chlorine. So you actually have free chlorine is hypochlorous acid. That is the chlorine that is free and available to sanitize and disinfect the water. Couple things, 6 out of 10 adults admit that they urinate in a swimming pool. Every single person has a fecal amount on them the size of a peanut. All this puts a demand on the chlorine. So how this works is, could you throw me the test strips? So your free chlorine, once it's killing anything within the body of water, it converts from a hypochlorous acid into a hypochlorous ion. If you've ever gone to a hotel swimming pool or a public swimming pool and has that very high chlorine smell, that is not an overchlorinated swimming pool. That is a pool that has too much combined chlorine buildup in it. There's liquid shock here. If we take a bottle of that, take the lid off and smell it, it doesn't smell like chlorine. If you stick your finger in it and smell your finger, it smells like chlorine because it's killing bacteria and it's converted into the hypochlorous ion, which is a chloramine. So basically, the easiest way to explain this is you have free chlorine and you have total chlorine. And I highly recommend these test strips because you do test for both. Your free chlorine and your total chlorine should be the same number, no more than 0.2 ppm difference. So if you have a free chlorine level of 2 and a total chlorine level of 2, you're good. If it's 5 and 5, 6 and 6, 1 and 1. What happens is as there's demand put on the chlorine by bather use and pets, your free chlorine will go down. Your total chlorine goes up. That's used up chlorine. You don't want that in the water. That's where regular oxidation comes into play. I did one of these seminars in Missouri, and the owner of the store gave a printout. The printout showed the pool had 0.5 parts per million of free and 15.5 parts per million of combined, of total chlorine, which gave it a 15 parts per million of combined. On the printout, it said to put in 70 pounds or 70 gallons of chlorine. It needed that. If you do not take that to break point, which is 10 times higher than your combined, you accomplish nothing. Be proactive. The more your pool gets used, the more you will oxidize. Okay? After a heavy rainstorm, after a heavy bather use, don't be afraid to give it chlorine shock or non-chlorine shock. Okay? Okay, chloramines. What you're smelling is an ammonia. That's the byproduct that is the chloramine. And that's why my brother won't let me in his pool, because I won't get out there. I urinate in the pool, so shh, don't tell him that. So basically, maybe before you leave, you can look at this. And if you look and you dip a strip in and you have 3 parts per million of total chlorine and 3 parts per million of free chlorine, you're fine. You don't have to do anything. But if you dip that strip in and you have 5 parts per million of total chlorine and 1 part per million of free chlorine, you have 4 parts per million of combined chlorine. To get rid of that, you have to take the free chlorine level in that body of water to 40 parts per million. If you do not, the gentleman who didn't want to put in 70 pounds of chlorine, he put in 20, and all he did was create more combined. The easiest thing about chloramines is proactive with oxidation. If you use your pool once a week and you're the only one using it, you will oxidize less often. If you look like the party pool. Okay, so you guys have a lot of bathers in your pool over the course of the week. Then you actually do it every week. My brother and my friend, every Sunday night, they oxidize the swimming pool. Okay, the easiest thing to control the combined chlorine is regular oxidation. The easiest thing to do to keep your water balanced and keep that pH and alkalinity locked into place where you might not make an adjustment all summer long is the Supreme Plus product. Supreme Plus, you add it once a season. Okay, now you might have to add a little bit more depending on how much fresh water goes into that swimming pool. If you get a lot of rain, if you have a lot of splash out, the recommended range is 30 to 50 parts per million. Patio Pleasures, on their testing lab, they can't test that borate level. I recommend you only test that once a month once you have it set, you know, and then if for any reason it went below 30 parts per million because of a lot of fresh water going in, then you can add another amount. Not the first dosage, but a smaller amount to get back up to that 30 to 50 parts per million.
What's the starting dose per 1,000 gallons?
2 pounds per 1,000 gallons. You can do 3 pounds per 1,000 gallons. My brother and my friend, they do the 3 pounds because they do add a lot of fresh water. My brother puts in 4 inches of water a week because so many swimmers, and they go from the hot tub to the pool, hot tub to the pool, a lot of water comes out. But 2 pounds will get you somewhere around 50. 3 will probably get you closer to 70, and that will guarantee you will not have to add more the rest of the summer. You swim in that water, it feels different. It's soft, it's silky. You can see the clarity that it uses. He uses another product they both use a product called Microfloc Clarifier. That just takes out particles and makes that water polished. But the Supreme Plus, its buffering capability, your pool won't get algae. If you maintain your free chlorine level 1 to 3 and run your pump and filter, you won't get algae because it stars the water of carbon dioxide. I've always told my dealers, if you put a customer on Supreme Plus, if they maintain chlorine 1 to 3, run their pump and filter and circulate their water, if they ever get algae, I will give you the stuff to kill that algae bloom. In 7 years, I've never had to give away anything. Knock on wood. So, any questions? Yes?
You said this was developed in the 90s and Disney was the first one?
I think it might have been the 80s.
80s?
Don Gervin. I started selling it in the 90s.
Okay, so how is it? Has this been here before? I don't recall seeing it.
Yes, it has.
Okay.
Yeah.
There hasn't been an emphasis that I have.
When you come to this, you hear about it. 'Cause I
Yeah.
did that. I'm wondering how long is it good for? Because I bought it maybe last year, this presentation.
Is
Big bucket.
it 5, 6, 7 years. The thing is if it can get hard. If it sits in a hot, humid area, it'll absorb moisture and it gets hard. The product is still good. It just makes it a little bit more difficult. You break it apart. You know, my company gives me hard buckets from my brother, and I just put the buckets in the pool. It dissolves, then the bucket floats to the top, and we take it out. So the product's still good. What's that?
You gave me 20 pounds of it, and I put it in my pool. It just fizzes at the top, and then it just dissolves.
Yeah. So it product, you know, has a minimum 5-year shelf life, but if it gets hard, it's still good. You don't have to break it back up into a powder form, even if you have big chunks the size of a softball. They will dissolve in the swimming pool. When you add it, you evenly broadcast it over the swimming pool. A friend of mine in Florida, he dumped the bucket in one spot and it got hard and he tried to brush it and he couldn't. He panics. He's calling me at 11 o'clock at night. I said, give it a day. He calls me the next day, goes, it's all gone. So just evenly broadcast it. Once you add that to your body of water, you do not adjust your alkalinity for 2 weeks. Okay. If you added that with an alkalinity of 90 to 100, it'll be 90 to 100 after the 2 weeks. It does not raise your pH. So if you add it with a pH of 7.2 to 7.6, the pH will be there. But the buffering capability, and the pictures are worth 1,000 words. I have a dealer in Missouri. She never sold it. I gave her daughter some to use in her salt pool, and now they're one of the biggest protein dealers in my territory. The daughter's like, Mom, we didn't adjust the pH or alkalinity all summer long. And she goes, the water stayed crystal clear. Okay. How's my time?
You got 3 minutes.
Oh, okay. Any more questions? Yeah, yes.
With chlorine, if your chlorine is super high, but your total chlorine, you need to shot, do you just use the no shot chlorine to do that?
That's a good question. So let's say that you actually have a free chlorine level of 5 parts per million, but you have a total chlorine level of 7. So you have 2 parts per million of combined. At that point, I would use a non-chlorine shot because you don't need to raise the chlorine level. Okay.
And that will bring it down.
It'll get rid of that combined chlorine without raising your free chlorine level.
Last summer a lot. Was my chlorine was way too high. I'm like, well, I need a shot. What do I do?
You can, at that point, you would use a non-chlorine shot. Any other questions? Yes.
How long do you recommend running your pump per day?
Do you have a variable speed pump? You have a single speed pump. You want to have a minimum of at least 2 turnovers. That means all the water in that swimming pool needs to get through that filter a minimum of twice in a 10 to 12 hour time frame. Ideally, turning it on and never shutting it off.
That's what we did last year.
If somebody asked me last night if I had a pool, I would run it 24/7. Okay.
That's what we tell our customers, but we don't pay your electric bill, but
Yeah.
it really will give you the best results.
It does. And, you know, the motors constantly shutting off and on lessens the life of the motor on that pump. So I recommend 24/7. Okay. One other thing, return jets. I don't want to jump in here. When your pool is running, the water should never ripple the surface, ever. It should look like a sheet of glass. Have them down at a 45-degree angle. If you have them out straight or directed upward, everywhere from that return jet down is dead stagnant water, not getting circulated. You want to move all the water from the bottom of the pool up through the water column to get through your skimmer or be pushed to a main drain if you have them on an in-ground swimming pool.
You're saying you shouldn't see any ripple?
Never.
So our hot tub covers, I mean, sorry, pool covers, it's spinning around.
No. Well, above ground swimming pool? That's a good point. If you have it down at a 45-degree angle and turn, say, away from the skimmer, your cover will move because now you're circulating that water in the pool. That's a good situation. But everybody wants them up. You're not getting good circulation. So your chemicals, filtration, and circulation all working together is what keeps your water clear. Okay? I nailed it on my time.
Cool.
Yes.
Is there a protein Screen Plus version for hot tub?
Yes, Gentle Spa. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for showing up. We're going to have a hot summer. We're going to be 90 to 95 for 3 straight months.
Yeah.